Chapter 13. Syria, Turkey, Iran. April 1971. Here I am arriving in Damascus, Syria. It brings to mind the ancient biblical story of Saul of Tarsus, who persecuted Christians after the resurrection of Christ. Then on the road to Damascus, Saul and his small army of Christian persecutors were struck down by a blinding light, and Saul heard a voice. "Saul, why do you persecute me?" Saul sees a vision of Jesus Christ on the road to Damascus. Christ is alive and well, asking Saul the question. Saul is awestruck and makes a miraculous turnaround conversion to the Christian faith right here on the road to Damascus. Saul becomes Paul, known to history as the Apostle Paul or Saint Paul. Paul is the most prolific author of the New Testament. He is credited with writing 16 books in the Bible. The Christian religion took hold in the founding years because of the work done by Paul. And it all started on the road to Damascus. Entering Damascus, Syria ushers these thoughts into my mind. My first order of business in Damascus is to purchase a new flute. I somehow lost my flute in Lebanon. My good old North African flute. I love that thing. I blew into it every day. I went to sleep one night in a park. When I woke up, it was gone. I feel terrible about losing such a valued, precious item. I need a new flute. I must be able to make and create my own music, to march to the beat of my own tunes. One of the Arab guerrillas in Beirut had a beautiful flute that he showed me that he bought in Damascus, so I'm optimistic I can replace my beloved instrument. I locate a music stall in the great souk of Damascus, a huge covered marketplace, where I buy a new flute with a customized strap and case for carrying. I blow into the tube while pressing down on various notches to create sounds of music. I love it. Wonderful. Now I'm back in business, the business of keeping my head balanced and calm with soothing sounds from my mellow flute. I'm a piper at the gates of dawn in Damascus, as Pink Floyd would say. I locate the youth hostel. The place is practically deserted. One guy at the front desk in the lobby and one guy at the door. I'm used to all kinds of student traveler activities going on at the hostels. I walk up to the front desk to check in. "What's going on around here? Where are all the people?" I inquire. The guy shrugs his shoulders. "I don't know, sir. Slow time of year." "Anyone else here? Student travelers?" I ask. "Just you and one female. We now have a registered guest in each dormitory." I pay the fee, gather my gear, and walk to the male student dormitory. I dump my gear beside a bunk bed. Soon I'm out snooping around, sneaking into the female dormitory. "Hello? How are you? It looks like you're the only one here," I say to the red-headed woman. "Hi. Finally someone else," she beams at me. "I'm Dawn, from Australia near Adelaide," she says. "I'm Steve, but everyone calls me Woodstock." We shake hands. She's pretty as well as very fit and trim. Cute smile. "I thought I'm going to be here all alone. I was getting worried. I have a group of friends I'll be meeting with tomorrow," she says. "Where did you come from? Back home in Australia? Or have you been trekking a while?" I inquire. "I flew from Istanbul, Turkey. I arrived here this morning by taxi from the airport. I thought this place was closed when I came into the lobby. I was the only student guest until you arrived." "I know how you feel. I'm so used to the bustling activities of everyone at the hostels, but not here in Damascus. Very strange, I admit." "I'm hungry. Do you want to get a bite to eat somewhere with me?" "Yeah, sure," I say. Dawn and I make our way down to the nearby restaurant. Before we depart, she covers up her hair with a scarf. She hands me an extra kafaya, and I cover up as well. Two redheads walking around these parts would be like a beacon to everyone's eyes. We need to blend into our surroundings. After dinner, Dawn and I walk back to the vacant youth hostel. I follow her into the female dormitory. We locate a bunk bed in a far-off corner alcove, semi-private from the row of empty bunks. We turn the lights out, get naked, crawl under the covers, and make out. The kissing and caressing is pure, lustful joy unleashed. Dawn is exquisite to behold and fondle. Luscious, warm, wet, and delicious, she oozes free-spirited, feminine sexuality. I am in bliss as we make love in the darkness under the sheets. We put a hand over each other's mouth to muffle our moans and groans. My hand over her sexy, wet lips and her fingers over my mouth. We both hump in a harmonic rhythm in tune with the melding energies of our coupling. We fall asleep together. Then in the middle of the night, I wake up and sneak out of the female dorm and back to my bed in the male dorm. In the morning, I wake up and discover there's another guy here at the hostel with me. It's that big guy with long, stringy blonde hair that I first met in Baalbek. Hey, man, how you doing? We met a week back at Francisco's place in Baalbek, I say. You're a lad from Ohio, right? Yeah, good morning, man. And you're Woodstock from Michigan. Yes. I'm from Ohio, but I actually live in Colorado. I'm a student in Boulder. I just received my general business degree from Michigan State University, I say. I may go to law school after taking this year off to trek the globe. What about you? Well, I have 2 degrees and I may go for a 3rd. What in? Art and economics, he says. I'm working on a master's in business now. I ran a pot operation back home that earned enough money to take time off and travel, as well as to pay for my education. Where are you headed to next? I inquire. From here, off to Palmyra, then northwest into Turkey. What about you? I'm heading the same direction, I say. Well, good for us. Let's hang out then, says Lad. Did you get some of that hash when you were in Lebanon? The guys I was with did, but I didn't. Why, you got some? Hell yes, says Lad. How did you get through customs? I rolled all the fingers of hash together and repacked it in cellophane. Then I shoved it up my ass. He laughs. No way, man. Oh yeah, I had to do it. I knew they were going to search everything, and they did. But I got through with my stash. Hey, man, you want to go on a tour with me of the Umayyad Mosque? I inquire. It's built over the tomb of John the Baptist. Sure, man. Let me use the bathroom shower, get cleaned up, and I'll be ready to go within the hour. I walk out to the front lobby just in time to see my auburn-haired beauty Dawn pull away in a taxi. I wave frantically to her and run to the door, exiting the lobby, but to no avail. She didn't see me. Now I look out at her taxi from the curbside as the taxi gets swallowed up in the traffic of the main avenue. Dawn is a seasoned traveler. She's headed to Beirut to meet up with a group of friends. Wow, she was terrific. Several years older than me. In the brief time we knew each other, it was obvious to me she is headstrong and independent, as well as a tiger in bed. C'est la vie, my love. I meet up with Lad as we sojourn out to the great market, the souk. Set in the middle of the souk is the Umayyad Mosque. We pay for a tour of the mosque. We are in a small group of other tourists, Westerners, non-Muslims. 2 women in the group are directed to wear black, silky robes. They are like capes. Lad and I put the robes on also. We follow our tour guide. We can only go on the tour in the mosque during the non-prayer times, our guide explains. The mosque is only for the faithful during the 5 prayer times a day. So we need to hurry through to complete this quick tour. Come, follow me. We follow along with our group, listening to the Muslim history of the place, touted by the speaker. Lad and I separate from the tour. We just slink off and start exploring. We wander off into a fantastic courtyard. On one side of the courtyard is a long wall of glass doors that extends the length of the gigantic mosque. I look out upon high towers covered with intricate colored mosaics. After taking a few tokes of Lad's smuggled Lebanese hashish in the courtyard, we hear the call to prayer from the muezzin, blaring out from loudspeakers in the bright tiled towers above. We make our way into the cavernous carpeted mosque prayer hall, which surrounds the ornate mausoleum of St. John the Baptist. We sit and watch as the men file into rows on the carpeted ground, filling up the width of the prayer hall, man after man. Soon they are led by the imam as they swoop and swoon with heads touching the floor and their butts up in front of us. Finally, as the prayer session ends, we slither out the nearest exit door into the souk. I sense an electrical feeling in the air. It is incredible and moving to experience the masses honor God all at once, together. Bless the Lord and the diversity of human life. Out in the Damascus market, we walk around until we come upon a merchant's stall of local male head coverings. We each purchase a kafaya, the traditional and common Arabic headscarves with woven colored patterns of red or black. It comes with a black hoop to keep it in place, like the sheiks wear. I dig wearing my new kafaya, and so does Lad, now that our long hippie hair is covered and we can blend in better. Next stop in the souk is to purchase a new flute. Both of us get one. Then we walk through the huge market, blowing on our flutes and wearing our kafayas as we march along. We head back to the hostel, grab a bite to eat, and talk late into the night. We are still the only people in the male dormitory. Next morning, we get a taxi and head north to Homs, Syria. From here, we have to head straight out east across the desert, about 250 kilometers to get to Palmyra. We tried to hitch beforehand with no luck, so Lad makes a deal with the taxi driver to drive us across the desert. We are now at the ancient ruins of this desert oasis city. It's nearing evening, so we find a spot against the wall to block the winds. It seems as if we are in the midst of an extensive amphitheater with what looks to be a stage setting, semi-encircled with staggered bench seating. As darkness sets in, the almost full moon shines brightly upon us in the ruins. We both lay out our gear and get into our sleeping bags. I blow on my flute, gazing up at the moon. In the morning, we wake up in the ruins outside of the town of Palmyra. We are tripping to the vibe of our out-of-this-world surroundings. We walk and climb the rocks amongst the temples. There are tomb vaults all over the flat desert and the hillsides. Lad and I hide our gear in a tomb, then continue exploring the massive archaeological site. We climb up high on a hill that overlooks the ruins and the modern-day town. I can see incredible distances into the barren desert scape from this high vantage point. I survey the acres of ruins with my eyes, sweeping out to the geometric straight lines of the town, the great contrast of the green oasis orchards extending like a lush garden against the brownish-red desert and the brown walls of the gardens and homes. I am in awe of this unique place on earth. I meditate atop the mountain hill. Lad joins with me. Om, Om. We are startled from our meditation. An army guy literally comes out of the ground about 30 feet from us. We jump up from our sitting position. The guy comes out of a tunnel dug into the hillside, followed by another uniformed soldier. They both have guns. "You guys must leave here now," says the soldier. "Don't stay at the ruins again either. Go into town or leave here altogether. It's unsafe here, a high security risk." We immediately go back down the hill and gather our gear at the tomb where we left it. Then we stroll into the modern-day town of Palmyra. The town is a beautiful oasis of palm trees and olive trees. Historically, Palmyra was the home of Zenobia, queen of the desert, who fought the Romans to a standstill for many years before capitulating, and it is filled with the ruins of many generations. We hitch a ride on the back of a donkey cart all through the town, the main street. I blow into my flute, and then I eat an orange, looking out at all the people. The desert just out beyond this oasis, together with the background of the ancient ruins, races my mind into sudden awareness of just how great this premier odyssey into the world is to me. At the end of town, where the desert starts again, we jump off the donkey cart and start our walk back through the oasis. Suddenly, we are ambushed by a team of rock-throwing kids. We take cover behind a tree and a large boulder as rocks rain down on us from several directions. There must be dozens of kids out there. I'm hit in the arm, leg, and ankle. Lad takes one in the head and blood streams down his face. He starts throwing rocks back in rapid succession and the kids scatter. Lad goes berserk, yelling and screaming and throwing rocks. He's in a frenzy. I come out from behind a tree to calm him down. We get a taxi out of Palmyra back across the desert to Syria. We spend the night at a cheap hotel. Then in the morning, I get a bus ticket to Aleppo. Lad can't deal with the local Arab crowds on the bus, especially after yesterday. He takes a more expensive cab while I take the cheaper bus. I finally arrive in Aleppo on a slow local bus full of Syrians. There is Lad already waiting for me at the bus station. "Hey, Woodstock, American buddy, how was your trip?" Crowded, uncomfortable, and long. I'm glad to be off that damn bus. I had a luxury, nice, chauffeured ride from my taxi driver. You should have come along. I don't want to be freeloading off of you. You already paid for the rides before. Unlike you, I have a limited budget. I told you it was okay, man. Don't worry about it. Okay, next time. Here we are in Aleppo. And tomorrow we cross into Turkey, says Lad. Aleppo is a groovy place. An historical citadel fortress overlooks the town. The marketplace is wonderful. The fantastic bazaar is the best I've seen since Fez, Morocco. Lad and I go exploring undercover with kafayas over our heads. Good food, astounding market. I barter with a vendor by offering my Kodak Instamatic camera for several Arab headscarves. After much haggling, I settle for 2 new kafayas in exchange for my camera. I hadn't taken a picture since leaving home anyway. Lad and I then explore the ruins of the citadel. Afterwards, we decide to not spend another night in town. It's time to go to Turkey. We go to the hotel, pack up our gear, and get a taxi to drive us to the border town. We walk 5 kilometers through lush, beautiful, green, hilly pastures that rise up into small mountains. We have arrived at the border between Syria and Turkey. You must have a cholera vaccination shot as a condition of admittance to our country, says the border guard to both of us. We're in no position to argue our way out of this, whispers Lad to me. I agree. We need to cross this border, I whisper. Done with our quick impromptu huddle, we proceed to a medical booth at the customs checkpoint. Lad goes first with his shot. I'm next, but instead of changing needles, the nurse attendant gives me a cholera shot with the used sloppy seconds. What can I do about it? Nothing. Then we proceed to get our passports stamped by the customs agent and cross into Turkey from Syria. A little girl, probably 6 or 7 years old, walks up to us and spits on Lad, then spits on me. She walks away to her nearby parents, who ignore what she has done to us. Lad and I look at each other bewildered as we wipe away the saliva from our clothes. Man, we got to keep wearing these kafayas. I say, just because we're leaving Arab lands doesn't mean we can be carefree walking around as hippies. That kind of shit really pisses me off, says Lad. It makes me want to get back to Europe and America. Now that we're in Turkey, you're getting close to your wish. This country, in 2 continents, is a major gateway from Asia to Europe at the Bosphorus, I say. Still pisses me off. Here, I say, handing Lad one of my new kafayas as I adjust the kafaya over my own head. Let's just blend in better, and get moving. Okay, sure, man. We walk out of town hitchhiking for a ride. It takes a while, but we finally land a ride to the ancient city of Antioch, now known as Antakya. It's turning into evening soon. We find a small cafe for a bite to eat. Then we head up to St. Peter's Rock and sleep out on a ledge hanging out of the mountainside. The next morning, we wake up at sunrise and discover just how beautiful and majestic the views are in our rocky surroundings. But there's no time to stay. We've got plans to be on the move all through Turkey. We walk into town and secure a bus ride to Iskenderun on the sea. From there, we hitch 2 rides that get us to just outside the city of Tarsus, the famed ancient biblical town of St. Paul. We walk alongside of the road nearing the town when a farmer driving a tractor pulls over. He's pulling an empty wagon. Lad and I throw our gear into the wagon and jump on ourselves. The farmer takes us into the city center of Tarsus. Tarsus really looks groovy for an ancient, sleepy town, but we still have some daylight for travel, so we get right on a bus for 13 cents to take us to the town of Mersin by the Mediterranean Sea. It's evening now as we get off the bus at the port of Mersin. We can't sleep out because it's raining, so we locate a real cheap, sleazy hotel at the harbor. We're both road weary from the day's travels. It feels good to take a shower and sleep in a bed. I wake up in the morning coming out of multiple dreams of going back home. I have so many conflicts in my head. Soon the decision will be upon me to either continue my wandering journey amongst the world's diverse cultures or head back home. The Turkish people are different from the Arabs, especially in fashions. The men mostly wear black suits, Western-style pants and suit coats, plus a black hat with a brim. Gone are the headscarves and flowing garb of the Arabs. I'm sure there are many other subtle differences I wouldn't know to be aware of. I also notice many of the guys wear black balloon pants that convey the exotic in this country. It feels like a slight transition to my more familiar Western culture. Lad and I continue our journey through Turkey. We get on a bus that takes us further west along the coast to Konya. Then the bus heads inland through fantastic gray stone mountains surrounded by every shade of foliage green and over bridges of winding rivers. I stare out the bus window, taking it all in. Lad and I fall asleep on the bus as the driver continues driving all through the night. It's 6 a.m. as sunrise greets a new day. I yawn, wake, and look out the window to discover we are crossing the Bosphorus into Istanbul. The bus drops us off at a ferryboat harbor. Lad and I split up. He takes a taxi to pick up some things he bought on his travels and had sent here. Now he needs to repackage everything and send it all home. I decide to continue on by myself and meet back up with Lad at an Istanbul student hotel. I purchase a ticket and jump on the ferryboat. Wow, what a trip. Oh, Istanbul, here I come to your famous shores, across your glorious watery entrance. Huge ships float in the Bosphorus Strait, and smaller vessels move about. This is a bustling place, with a myriad of ships moving north and south, up and down the Bosphorus, as well as connecting Asia to Europe. I'm beat from over 17 hours of bus riding from south to north and west across Turkey. We are sailing smoothly over the water as I see ships lining the coast. The sun is peeking through the start of an overcast day. As we near the shore, I look down at the water, a filthy, dingy, dark, milky soup of oil and grit where the ferryboat floats. The crew ties down the boat at the dock. I disembark to touch the shores of Europe once more. I've completed my 3-continent tour and back. Europe, Africa, Asia, Europe. But am I ready to go home or journey further east? I'm staying in Istanbul for a while. By the end of the week, I've got to make a firm decision. Meanwhile, I mill about and get to know the town. I walk through the old winding streets of the city and play my flute. On my walk, I meet 3 people from Montreal, Peter, Shelley, and Douglas. They're hippie freaks like me staying at the cheap student hotel. Then the 4 of us take a tour of the famous emblematic Blue Mosque together. Afterwards, I split off from the Montreal trio and visit a Turkish bath. I enter the fancy marble bathhouse deep in the old city streets near to the Bosphorus. I pay $1, then follow the attendant into the bathhouse. I am washed by this middle-aged, dark-skinned, short, wiry Turkish guy. Then he uses a pumice rag to pull off the dead skin and dirt. I receive an incredible body massage. He finishes up by literally walking up my spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, from my tailbone. He holds my feet behind him for balance as he walks up to my neck. Wow, this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I come out of the Turkish bath absolutely floating, it seems. I then walk to the American Express office to see if I have any mail from back home. I have a letter from my brother, another from my sister, and a 3rd letter from an old girlfriend. Everybody wants to know if I'm coming home. I need to make up my mind and come to a decision soon. Then I've got to answer these letters and let everyone know. The letter from the old girlfriend bums me out. I don't want to help her solve any of her problems. I'm not her solution. Big city life in Istanbul is way too hectic and expensive for me. I must make a decision. I've been considering different possibilities, from trekking home through Europe to continue east to Afghanistan, maybe to India and as far as Nepal. Oh, the conflicts of my choices. I'm going on a solitary walk, an extended wandering tour. I walk across a long bridge, past many pedestrians. This bridge crosses the Golden Horn Waterway, connecting the old city with the modern-day city. I'm staying in the old town. The new part of town contains most of the embassies and modern hotels, like the Hilton and the Sheraton. My long walk lasts several hours. I then recross the long bridge to go back across the Horn to my place. Next day, I finally meet up with Lad once more. "Woodstock, how have you been? I thought I might miss you," says Lad. "Good to see you, man," I say. We shake hands. "So, what's your decision? Heading home or going east?" I've been thinking about it all week, since we crossed over into Turkey, especially since arriving here in Istanbul. "So what is it?" "I'm leaning on going east. I received these letters from back home, and I think they may have helped me decide. I don't think I'm ready to return to that life right now. I yearn to wander some more, to get new experiences." "So you've decided not to go home then?" Lad inquires. "Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm making the decision right now, talking to you," I explain. "Well, good for you. I wish you well in your travels, my friend," says Lad. "Why don't you come along with me? We've had good times together. Let's go to Afghanistan and India, man," I say. "No, thanks, I'm done. I've had enough. My travels are winding down, and I'm heading home," says Lad. "How long have you been traveling?" "Since last summer, man. It's been 10 months. I've gone for a little over half a year. I'm ready to complete the whole year. I may never get another chance all my life," I say. "More power to you, man. You've got to go for the gusto." Next day, I visit the Iranian consulate. I'm applying for a transit visa to cross Iran, where I can get an Afghani visa. This is the final step to put my new plan into motion. Afterwards, I spend the rest of the day aglow for my positive decision. I'm heading to the mystic East. It's really happening. I'm doing it. Lad and I hang out together for the last time. We visit the huge cavernous church of St. Sophia. This is the great church of the Eastern Roman Christendom. Huge circular emblems of Quranic verse have been placed high up on the vaulted ceiling in order to mesmerize this Christian edifice. Lad and I play our final flute session together. We've had many good times. I will miss his company. I'm tying up my loose ends today. Tomorrow, early in the morning, I will be on a train heading east. I write letters and mail them back home, letting my people know my plans. I'm doing it. The dream has always lingered in the back of my mind. Afghanistan, then perhaps to India and Nepal. I'm really doing it. My head almost can't comprehend the fact. I'm crossing into Asia again. I had an emotional goodbye with Lad. It feels like we are brothers. What a great cat he is. He wrote his address right in my journal. Latimer Michael James, care of Fine Arts Department, University of Colorado, Boulder, Colorado. Then he drew a goofy cartoon guy on top of some breast and nipple hills with the statement, "Dig it, man," in a dialogue balloon. What a gas. I'm going to miss that guy. I purchased a cheap third-class ticket on the train for 38 lira, but I should have gotten here early because I'm too late for a seat. I have to sit in the aisleway. I fall asleep only to wake up with people tripping and falling all over me. At the train stop in Ankara, the centrally located capital of Turkey, I upgrade my ticket to second class. It's very nice with a big, comfortable seat. We have a long layover, but I stay on the train. I'm just passing through. I take a nap. When I wake, the train is moving down the tracks. It's good to be on the move, seeking new adventures. I already miss having Lad as a traveling companion. We were so simpatico on the road together. What a truly alive human being he is, a blossoming flower in his own right. But he was really affected by the constant center of attention we were by reactions of negativity from the people. He kept telling everybody to go fuck off when they hassled him and hassled us. He'd had enough of it. I think I'm more easygoing and not as hyper about that stuff, but it can be very intimidating at times. The train travels down the tracks all day and deep into the night. We finally arrive in Erzurum, Turkey, after 3 days on the train, sometimes literally going backwards to accommodate a train coming the other way in areas where there's only one track. This eastern Turkish town is still nestled in snow-covered mountains at this time of year, nearing late April. I get a hotel room for the night. Erzurum is a great embarkation spot for the East, and though it is not much of a town, the excitement of East meeting West is palpable. Then in the morning, I take a bus ride to the Iranian border. Everything goes smooth crossing the border. I meet two Pakistani brothers at the border, Samir and Farouk. We board a bus that will take us to Baku, Iran. "Hey, sir, would you like to save money and share a room with us at the hotel in Baku?" says the older brother Farouk. "Sure, why not?" I agree. Baku is a tiny town set in the mountains along the main road from Turkey to Iran. All the passengers on the bus stay at the hotel. The same bus will be taking us into Tehran tomorrow. I gather my gear and head to our room. Farouk paid the bill, so I pay him my third of the room that I owed as agreed previously. In the middle of the night, I'm awakened out of a sound sleep. Samir crawled in bed naked with me. He is rubbing his cock against my ass when I startle awake and jump out of bed. "What the hell are you doing?" I yell. Samir smiles back at me, stroking himself. "Me make love to you," he says. Farouk is in the other bed laughing. "My brother wants to screw you," he says. "No way, man. I'm not into that shit. I only like women," I say. Samir smiles at me and blows a kiss, still fondling himself. I gather my things and go out to get on the bus. I fall asleep in a seat. The bus leaves Baku early in the morning as I commence another all-day bus ride. I sit next to a doctor from a small village for a while. He speaks English. When he discovers I'm an American, he shares his views with me. "I'm anti-American because the United States supports the Shah of Iran. The Shah is no good for Iran," he says. "One day there will be an overthrow of power, and a revolution will take place in Iran. You'll mark my words, young man. We arrive in Tehran at 3 in the morning. I hang out at the bus station. I'll continue with the new bus to Mashhad when the ticket window opens. Around 9 in the morning, after a sleepless night at the bus depot, I embark on my new bus leaving Tehran, a huge modern city. It's another all-day bus trip through the grueling mountain landscapes. I sleep off and on. The raging mountain rivers, streams, and waterfalls catch my eyes. The barren Rocky Mountains change into heavily forested mountains. Then the land levels out into a valley. The bus keeps rolling as nighttime descends upon us. Around 5 in the morning, we cruise into Mashhad, the last major city in Iran to the east. I take a taxi ride to the center of town. I soon discover that it's a holy day in town and everything is closed on observance. There are many people milling about as my taxi driver nears 2 fantastic onion-shaped towers, one gold and the other turquoise. The streets are becoming more congested with people. Many of the men wear black silk outfits, carrying grand flags with very ornate designs. Soon parades of chanting men in black are coming down the streets in all directions. I'm already garbed in my jalaba. I quickly cover my head with my kafaya and go underground, walking amongst the masses of pilgrims to this holy site. The Afghan embassy is closed, so it will be impossible to process a visa today. Thus, I must spend the whole day in Mashhad until tomorrow morning when the embassy opens. Thousands of people are marching in the parade and thousands are watching. I feel incredibly lucky to experience this Muslim spectacle of spectacles. A group of chanting men dressed in black silk costumes march by doing slow rhythms with wood blocks held in their clapping hands. Then a whole parade of chanters doing rhythmic flagellations on their backs with hand-held whip chains. The blood flows down their backs onto their ripped shirts as they alternate slapping from shoulder to shoulder, whipping themselves crimson red with the small chains. I walk down a side street and witness the sacrificial ritual of a live sheep having its head cut off. The blood flows down the street, signaling another group of regimented marchers to get moving. What an intense experience to witness. The ritualistic behaviors of the masses has my jaw dropping spellbound. Finally, I make my way into the vast courtyard of the Mausoleum Mosque. I am carried along by the crowd of thousands into the inner sanctum of the interior of the great mosque amongst an ocean of Shia Muslim worshippers. I make my way back through the endless crowds, snaking my way to an outlet leading to the street that takes me out to the train depot. I arrive back to the safe confines and wait out the rest of the day with the other Western travelers stranded by the closed Afghani consulate.